Welcome to another edition of Value My Vote, one-on-one with the candidate series, and we're joined by 4th District Incumbent, Councilman Bill Henry. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
Not a problem, man. We definitely appreciate the time. We're actually here. They don't know it, but they'll know it now. We're here at your campaign kickoff, campaign headquarters, a very good fundraiser. You got the Attorney General, Doug Gansler's here tonight, and I'm sure many, many more. But it's been about the people with you the past 4 years. Your first term, councilman. What have you learned over the past 4 years?
Oh my goodness!
That you didn't expect.
You've really touched on something there, because one of the things that I plan to do as I transition from the end of this session of the council into sort of the full fury of the summer campaign is I would like to put that together. I'd like to put together a list of all the things I learned in the first term. I had, frankly, I learned more than I thought I would, because going into this with almost 7 years of having worked for the council for 2 different council presidents, I really did, I hit the ground running in a lot of ways that I think another brand new council person wouldn't have been able to. But there were still some distinctions from having worked on the staff of a citywide elected official to being the guy, you know, being the principal. For example, I made a point of having a district-wide office, and I thought that that would be a good thing, to have a district office that people up here could reach out to me at without having to come down and see me in City Hall. It'd be a good base for hosting meetings, and so I paid for that out of the line item in my office budget for a legislative aide, because I figured I've been a legislative aide, I can be my own legislative aide. One of the things I learned this session is it's not a great idea being your own legislative aide, because legislative aide is somebody you tell, okay, you go on and finish working on this while I go over here and talk to these people about their next problem. And so that led to some short nights.
I bet. And you know, speaking of what you referred to, you worked for former Council President Mary Pat Clark as well as Lawrence Bell. You know the ins and outs of government. What is different now in this kind of recession era that wasn't the same back then? Like, what are you learning, and what are you more focused on in the upcoming 4 years if you're reelected?
Well, probably the biggest difference between when I was working for the council president's office and today, in terms of how the council works, is that when I was there, it was still multi-member districts. It was 3 members from each of 6 districts. And now 14 single-member districts provides it provides a different culture in the council. Previously, you could always count on 2 other people who shared the same priorities you shared for any type of geographic issue, because you know you had your team. I mean, they may not have been the team you ran with, but all 3 of you represented the same district. Now with single-member districts, it's on each council person to form coalitions of support around every issue. I know that if there's an issue that affects just my district and I want to take a position on it, for the most part, councilmanic courtesy will cause people to go along with that proactively. But if there is a citywide issue that affects my district more than others. For example, last year, the bed tax that the administration proposed to try to get universities and hospitals to contribute a little bit more than they would otherwise, being nonprofit institutions. That bed tax, the way it happened to be calculated, impacted Loyola College, or now Loyola University, more than it impacted other colleges, because of the way the neighborhoods around Loyola had really forced Loyola over the years to build more of its own dorms rather than have its students live in the nearby communities. As a result, I was the only council person who that was a bad thing to. You know, in the old days, it would have been at least 3 of us would have been fighting to say, you got to redo you got to redo these calculations. This is unfair. But because of single member districts, it's just me.
Yeah, and you have been critical of certain budgetary items of the current administration, which saw some backfire from the administration during it. But you know, that's part of politics. Everybody has their own priorities. What can the voters expect from you coming into your second term, if they choose?
And just to clarify that, I've had some issues with the current administration. I had some issues with the spending priorities of the last administration. I had some issues with the spending priorities of the administrations before that. You know, one of the things that you can expect to see continue in a second term is I'm an outspoken advocate for the importance of youth development. One of the things that I think we've been doing wrong for my entire adult life is we've been treating youth development as a priority below the level of public safety. I mean, you can go back and look at every citywide campaign back to at least the mid-late 80s. And you know, the candidate who pushes public safety tends to be the candidate who comes out victorious. That is what the voters appear to care the most about. Unfortunately, that's caused our spending priorities to be weighted towards the most obvious part of public safety, which is police and then fire. And if you look at the big picture, you realize that when you give a kid a summer job or an after-school activity, if you focus them, keep them off the streets, off the corners, the relatively small amount of money you have to spend to do that, I say relatively, more than pays for itself in the fact that then that's one less kid becoming a criminal that you need to police against. And you know, over the last 20 years, the police budget has increased over 100%. Recreation parks has gone down by at least 15. It might be as high as 20%. I mean, that's in real dollars. That's not some kind of fancy economic 1990 dollars. That's, I mean, just in terms of what the budget was in 1991 and what the budget is in 2011. And I'm going to continue to say that we're doing that wrong, and we really need to spend more money on putting our kids on the right track from day one.
And we've been pushing that, and I've asked it with every candidate almost that we spoke to. How would you take that 15% that goes to schools of the budget and the 45% that goes to public safety, and how do you kind of tip the balance back towards education, which every other jurisdiction in the state puts almost 40 to 50% of their budget into education, except Baltimore City. So how do we fix that? You know, how do we kind of change that dynamic?
If one of the other things I've learned, and this is a running joke that I have with Councilwoman Clark, who, as you said, I worked for back when she was council president. Every now and then I'll say to her about some thorny issue we're discussing, I'll say, well, I guess if it was easy, you would have already fixed it before I got back. Yeah, this is a tough one. We start from a different start point than the counties around us in terms of the existing amount of crime we deal with from the, now at this point, at least one, if not two generations of kids that we did not properly support as they were growing up, because that first generation is now having the second generation of kids. I had a conversation last night at my 4th district-wide community meeting with several constituents who they're concerned about what they see as a lack of parenting in the neighborhoods around them. And I was explaining that for some of those parents, they're already at a disadvantage because they didn't get the proper support. Every year, it seemed, during the Schmoke administration, whenever there was a budget crisis, it was recreation and parks that took the hit. And we're now remaking over our recreation program with this charter rec centers concept. And I mean, I love these kids, so I hope it works. But I'm going into it with my eyes wide open that at the end of the day, we are turning over half of our rec centers to somebody else because we're not prioritizing them.
And putting the onus on private industry and nonprofits, which it really should be on the city.
And I totally get the idea that more people need to be involved. More people need to be involved in pretty much everything the city does. One of the things that I was just thinking about was, when you love something, when you love something, you try to protect it. You take care of it, you get it everything it needs to thrive, to succeed. You want to give it every advantage you can make sure it gets. We all would do this for our kids. Many people will do that for their pets. There are people who will do that for their plants. But we have a lot of residents in the city who it wouldn't even occur to them to think that way about their neighborhood. And so I agree, we need greater civic capacity. We all need to reach and we all need to share. But at the same time, I don't see the mayor going around asking T. Rowe Price to chip in and fund a police district. We fund that. We're asking everybody else to step up and take care of the rec centers. You could say it's because it's easier to market a rec center, but I wonder what it says about our priorities. That's what we ask other people to step up and do because we've already paid for clearly what the voters have told us is the important thing.
And being one of those organizations that stepped up to be a part of that process, I know that process was convoluted and confusing and kind of stopped because of political will in certain instances. So that still needs to be looked in. But as we wrap it up, give the voters an idea of how they can get more information on you and in contact with you during this campaign season and why they should vote for you in about 30 seconds or so.
Well, first of all, come on out to my campaign headquarters. We're here at the Alameda Marketplace Shopping Center, 5638 the Alameda. You know it as the one with the Exxon station across from the Bank of America. We have a headquarters here. You can reach out to me online at www.billhenry.com. And of course, if you are somebody who lives in the 4th District and you have a problem, you can always reach me at my office at 410-396-4830 or email me at bill.henry@baltimorecity.gov. If you have a question about the campaign, you can email me at info@friendsofbillhenry.com, or you can call the campaign headquarters at 443-803-9000. Please check out the website, again, www.billhenry.com. I've got the accomplishments for my first term up there and the beginnings of my platform for the second. I hope you can help. Thank you.
If they are a 4th District resident or city council and they want to come to what you said, your district office, where's that located?
Oh, the district office is at 5225 York Road. It's right at the corner of York and Glenwood. It's the Govins Multipurpose Center. We're in Suite D. Come see us.
Well, Councilman, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I wish you well on this fundraiser and on your re-election process. And we want to thank you for taking this time to share with us and the voters.
Thank you very much.
All right. And we'll be back with more of Value My Vote.